What happens when a victim is pushed to the point of becoming a killer? That's the haunting question at the centre of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case. It's a story that forces us to confront the limits of our justice system, where legal definitions of guilt often ignore the deeper realities of psychological trauma and coercion. For years, Gypsy was subjected to unthinkable abuse at the hands of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. Medical abuse, psychological control, a fabricated identity, a life lived in captivity. And yet, when Gypsy finally took a desperate step to free herself, her reward was prison. Convicted for the murder of her abuser, the system treated her like any other defendant. But was this really justice, or did the rigid structure of law fail to take into account the unbearable complexity of her situation? Today, we're unpacking the truth behind Gypsy's trial and what it reveals about our justice system, which is unequipped to handle cases of prolonged abuse, coercive control, and invisible trauma. We'll explore how the law saw the crime, but how the world reacted to it. Let's go back to June 10, 2015. That night, Claudine, or Dee Dee Blanchard as she's known, Gypsy's mother, was murdered in her Springfield, Missouri home. Her body was discovered days after a disturbing post surfaced on Gypsy's shared Facebook account, which raised alarms among family and friends. Court records reveal that Gypsy Rose orchestrated her mother's murder, which was ultimately carried out by her then boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn. In 2016, Gypsy Rose pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in connection with the death of her mother, Dee Dee. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but was granted parole after 8.5 years, serving only 85% of her sentence before being released in late 2023. Gypsy's boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, who carried out the fatal stabbing, was later convicted of first-degree murder, receiving a life sentence without parole, plus an additional 25 years. In court, the prosecutors successfully argued that Gypsy conspired with Nicholas to orchestrate her mother's murder. However, this is only one piece of a much larger and more complex story, a life shaped by years of deception and manipulation and abuse by Gypsy's mother, Dee Dee. For years, Dee Dee deceived doctors, charities, and even Gypsy herself, convincing everyone that Gypsy was gravely ill. She fabricated diagnoses of leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and brain damage, none of which were real. But Dee Dee didn't just lie. She actively made Gypsy appear sick, subjecting her to unnecessary medical treatments, feeding tubes, and confining her to a wheelchair, despite Gypsy being physically capable of walking. This pattern of behaviour fits the classic profile of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where an abuser exaggerates or induces illnesses in their victim to maintain control and manipulation over them. Dee Dee's motivations aligned with other documented cases of Munchausen's. She used Gypsy's supposed illness to garner sympathy, financial aid, and housing, and she reinforced her image as a selfless, devoted mother caring for a terminally ill child. Beyond the medical deception, Dee Dee physically abused Gypsy, enforcing complete dependency through starvation, beatings, and even restraining her with chains. Gypsy wasn't just a controlled child, she was a victim of a carefully manufactured reality, where every lie Dee Dee told became her truth. Munchausen syndrome by proxy is especially dangerous because it thrives on manipulating authority figures, exploiting medical professionals, and isolating the victim, making escape incredibly difficult. In Gypsy's case, the condition dictated nearly every aspect of her life, leaving her trapped in a cycle of abuse with no viable way out until she orchestrated her mother's murder. I can barely grasp the ordeal Gypsy was forced to endure. The sheer depth of suffering, the manipulation, and the control she faced daily is almost unimaginable. No one should ever have to live under such relentless torment. Desperate to break free from her mother's manipulations and control, Gypsy persuaded her former boyfriend, Nicolas Godejean, to carry out the murder, an act that ultimately led to both their convictions. In the courtroom, Gypsy's suffering was never fully conveyed. While her case unfolded publicly, it was only over time that people began to piece together the tragic reality behind her actions. Gypsy became a symbol of survival, a young woman whose years of abuse and control left her with no escape except for murder. Yet the legal system labelled her an offender, reducing her complicated reality to a simple conviction. The truth is, Gypsy never had a chance. Her identity was fabricated, her autonomy was erased, her inner world entirely controlled. But the court, bound by legal precedent, primarily judged her actions, but never the fractured self behind them. However, the public sympathy raised a crucial question. Did Gypsy Rose receive real due process, or did the legal system fail to take an account for the nuances of her trauma and coercion? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Public reaction to Gypsy Rose's sentencing was overwhelmingly sympathetic, raising the question, why didn't the legal system reflect the same understanding? Well, it's because the law is slow to evolve. While society's moral response shifted, the legal system remained bound by rigid definitions of guilt and accountability. In Gypsy's case, the court judged her actions, but not her suffering. Although she underwent the formal process of a trial and sentencing, many argued due process failed her. But before we move on, what exactly is due process? At its core, due process ensures the legal system treats everybody fairly. It guarantees a fair trial, legal representation, the protection against arbitrary punishment for anyone accused of a crime. On paper, Gypsy received all the legal protections due process demands. But the real question here isn't just whether the rules were followed, it's whether those rules were sufficient to account for the trauma and coercion that shaped her actions. Legally, of course, the case appeared straightforward. Gypsy and her boyfriend conspired to kill Dee Dee, making them culpable under law. However, the system viewed her actions through the rigid lens of guilt, overlooking the survival-driven motivations behind them. The law, of course, thrives on binaries: guilty or not guilty, sane or insane, victim or perpetrator. But the life of Gypsy was far more complicated than legal definitions allowed, and that's at the heart of this issue. At its core, the case illustrates how the legal system operates, strictly bound by statute, precedent, and evidence to determine guilt or innocence. That's very black and white. However, Gypsy's situation was more than just a legal matter. It was shaped by years of coercion, psychological abuse, and manipulation. These are the complexities that the law struggled to account for. Unlike physical self-defense, which has a clear legal definition, prolonged psychological abuse does not fit neatly within any existing legal doctrine. Gypsy was not legally insane, nor was she in imminent danger at the time of the murder, making conventional defences like insanity or self-defence nearly impossible to argue. As a result, the court judged her actions in isolation, failing to fully consider the systemic abuse that shaped them. While the public saw her as a victim, the law just simply couldn't adapt quick enough to reflect that distinction. Gypsy technically received due process, but many argued it failed her morally. She had a legal trial, but not the legal nuance necessary to fully evaluate the depth of her suffering. Well, the justice system didn't fail entirely, as it got some things right. The court upheld the rule of law, ensuring accountability, while recognising the exceptional circumstances of Gypsy's past. By convicting her of second-degree murder instead of first-degree murder, the law showed showed a measure of compassion, acknowledging that while she was legally responsible, she was also the victim of prolonged abuse. However, the system remained bound by rigid legal frameworks, which struggled to fully account for the years of psychological manipulation and coercion. Her sentencing reflected her victimhood, yet remained limited by the constraints of existing legal doctrines, leaving lingering questions about whether true justice was served. Gypsy's conviction here raises a crucial question of whether prolonged psychological and physical abuse should receive a stronger legal defence in cases where victims commit crimes in desperation. While the law provides for a defence to immediate threats, there's no legal standard or protection for victims who commit crimes because of long-term abuse. Many argue that the legal and medical systems failed Gypsy, allowing years of unchecked abuse to continue without official intervention. Dr. Bernardo Flesterstein, one of Gypsy's neurologists, recalled how Dee Dee claimed Gypsy's medical records had been lost in Hurricane Katrina, making it difficult to verify her supposed diagnosis. Dee Dee insisted her daughter had cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy, yet Flesterstein found no medical evidence to support these claims. When confronted, Dee Dee stated he and his staff didn't know what they were talking about before abruptly storming out of his office. Flesterstein never saw them again. Though he found their behaviour suspicious, he ultimately found he lacked sufficient proof to report his concerns to authority. But Dr. Flesterstein was one of many medical professionals deceived by Dee Dee, who strategically manipulated the healthcare system. One of Dee Dee's most effective tactics was doctor shopping, a common strategy among individuals with Munchausen's. Like Beverly Allett, another known Munchausen sufferer, Dee Dee carefully selected physicians who wouldn't question her fabricated diagnoses. Her manipulation served multiple purposes because it allowed her to continue fabricating illnesses without contradiction. This prevented doctors from cross-referencing past medical records and reinforced her narrative of hardship, making her appear like a struggling mother who was trying to overcome adversity rather than someone who was actively engaged in fraud. Whenever a doctor expressed skepticism, Dee Dee immediately cut ties and moved on, ensuring she only worked with medical professionals who were willing to accept her claims without question. This tactic prevented long-term oversight, making it easier to maintain the illusion that Gypsy was chronically ill while evading detection. Beyond manipulating medical professionals, Dee Dee exploited their empathy to reinforce her deception. By portraying herself as a devoted mother caring for a terminally ill child, she gained their trust and ensured they viewed her as credible rather than a suspect. This emotional appeal diverted attention away from inconsistencies in Gypsy's medical history, discouraging any deeper scrutiny. Instead of questioning her motives, many sympathised with her apparent struggles, making them more willing to accept her fabricated illnesses at face value. The failure of authorities to intervene ultimately placed the responsibility solely on Gypsy, leading to her conviction. I think if the legal system had fully recognised the depth of psychological abuse Gypsy endured, her sentencing would have prioritised rehabilitation over punishment. A more compassionate approach might have included a significantly reduced sentence or alternative sentencing arrangement. Beyond the legal consequences, mandatory psychological treatment and long-term therapy would have been essential in helping Gypsy process the years of trauma inflicted by Dee Dee. Supervised reintegration programs could have supported her transition into independent life after a childhood marked by isolation and control. A truly restorative justice model would have recognised that Gypsy was not just a perpetrator, but also a victim trapped in an abusive cycle. Instead of focusing solely on punishment, the legal system could have ensured she received care, guidance, and structured support necessary to heal and rebuild her life, rather than simply serving time. The Gypsy Rose Blanchard case sits squarely in the gap between evolving social awareness and the slow machinery of legal reform. It reveals the consequences of a system that lags in its recognition of trauma, abuse, and psychological complexity. This case has already sparked broader conversations about coercive control laws, the treatment of abuse victims in the justice system, and the importance of a trauma-informed legal framework. Some jurisdictions are beginning to explore laws that take prolonged psychological abuse into account and not just merely physical violence. Gypsy's story may one day be seen as a tipping point, a case that has forced the legal system to confront its own legal limitations. If this case changed how you see justice, hit the like and subscribe button for more deep dives into where law and morality collide. Let's keep asking those hard questions, because when the law fails people, democracy is at risk. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. For now, take care.